Yeah. Yeah, thanks for coming here today. I just, because I'm trying to do this thing for the young people like me, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Like,
Sure.
Yeah. Mind you, how old are you?
I'm 67.
67.
Yeah.
So you basically retire, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, which year, like, since when you retired?
It was. I've been retired for about 6 or 7 years. It was when COVID started.
Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good timing.
Yeah. Well, I was selling software,
Oh.
and I had a nice sales pipeline, and then COVID came along, and the whole thing exploded, evaporated.
Yeah.
And so go and do the lockdown.
Yeah.
And then, do I want to start it again? Do I want to do all that work to build up a sales pipeline again? And I was just like,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, it's a good time to.
So it was kind of involuntary, but it was a good time anyway to stop.
Yeah, great. So where were you? I remember you told me you were in Malaysia.
Yeah, I was in Malaysia at the time when the lockdown started. Yeah, COVID hit.
Yeah, how was the experience there?
You know, I was living on my own, and but I kind of liked my own company, and so I didn't really mind it. You know, I had Netflix and I had YouTube, and I was living like on the 22nd floor, and I used to get my exercise. I used to walk down and walk back up again in the firewall. We weren't really supposed to do that, but there was nobody else doing it, so it was okay.
Yeah,
you know, and then that was the first lockdown.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, about a year later they had another lockdown. That I didn't quite enjoy that so much.
Yeah, yeah. So, how was the How was the experience like after retire? Do you enjoy your retirement life?
It's the best time of my life.
Oh, yeah. I feel like
I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
When I was in my 40s, I spoke to one of my friend's fathers, and I think he was around about 80 at the time, and he was talking to me. He was a very, very smart guy. And he said, listen, I've got something funny to tell you. He said, my best decade was when I was in my 60s. And I was like listening to him, so how can this possibly be?
Yeah.
And he said, no, it's great. All the work's over, all the responsibilities are over, and I've got financial security, and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I was all okay, fair enough, you know. But my 60s have without doubt been a standout decade.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said when he got to his 70s, then the health problems started. Now, I'm not looking forward to that one, but the it's the best decade I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you agree with him right now? What do you feel like right now? Do you think like being 60 or 80 are the best age? Reviewing back all your life, which age do you think is the best of your life?
Oh, that's a hard one to tell because life changes so much.
Yeah.
You know, the responsibilities come
Right.
and they go, and it all gets very, very busy. Well, I mean, physically, your best age is in your 30s. Yeah.
30s?
Yeah, that's physically.
Physically, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But in my mind,
Yeah,
this is the best time.
Yeah. Which age do you feel is the happiest time in your life? Like
Now.
most- Now?
Yeah, no question about it.
No.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Why is that?
It's just wonderful. I retired 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I've spent those years just travelling, a lot of solo travelling, but not all solo travelling. I've been on so many overseas trips. I hardly spend any time in my apartment.
Yeah.
And
nice.
I've got my kids. I can go and visit them, and it's just complete freedom and no responsibilities. I don't have to do anything.
Right.
Yeah. It's just great. I mean, some people would get bored, but not me.
Yeah. Right. So, were you married? You mentioned you have kids, right?
Yeah.
You're married
Yeah.
now. Are you like divorced or are you like single again? So because
Yeah, I'm single again. I was married for like 30 years, and then we got divorced.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of marriage? because I feel like yeah, a lot of young people like me, you know, a lot of young people we are like very single. It's very hard for us to even get relationship
Yeah.
or not even to stay marriage.
Yeah.
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 So do you have any advice for us, like in terms of marriage?
Well, more than half of marriages fail.
Yeah. But you've been married. You guys stay in the marriage for 30 years. That's pretty long, right?
Yeah, it's a fair while, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in one sense, you could say it was successful,
Mm-hmm.
but in another sense, you could also say it was a bit of a disaster. But
Yeah. Because I feel like marriage is a lot of. Why is that? Why you say it's a disaster? It's a lot
it
of
was an ugly ending. You
What?
know, it was an ugly ending.
Oh, it's ugly.
Yeah,
ending.
yeah, it wasn't so nice, the end
Oh,
part
okay.
of it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, on that basis, you could say it was a failure, but there was 20 good years, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah. So.
It's
yeah.
a mixed bag
It's
for
a
me,
mixed-
marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, come back to my question. Do you have any advice to younger people in terms of marriage? Like,
yeah. It's look, maybe I'm a little bit jaded and a little bit cynical, you know, but you know, when you get married in I don't know what Chinese weddings are like, but when you get married in Christian thing, and I'm not a Christian, okay, but I did get married in a Christian church.
oh.
They say till death us do you do part. You're married until one of you dies. The only
Yes.
way you end it is by someone dying. Yeah. That's a hell of a thing for someone at 25 to say.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous thing because it's just naive in its concept. You change so much during your life. You change. I'm a completely different person to who I was when I was 25, and my ex is again a completely different person. And to make a commitment at the beginning to stay together until you die, it just seems a bit extreme to me.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Should maybe little like 5-year contracts, yeah.
Oh yeah, people say that actually. Yeah.
That might be the way to go. yeah.
Right. So yeah, continue our conversation earlier. Yeah, what were we talking about? Marriage, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I mentioned to you off camera that you know it's a hell of a commitment from the day you get 25 saying you'll be together until one of you dies.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a commitment.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like I don't know. It's almost it's not right expecting somebody to say that. It's just too long. The journey's too long.
Yeah,
You
and
change
life
so much.
changes.
And
People
life
change.
changes. People change.
Yeah. So.
I think back to my friends in Australia. There's at least half of them are divorced,
Mhm.
and the other half of them thinking I should have got divorced.
Mm.
So that's not a lot of till death us
Oh.
do part.
Yeah, I guess I heard of this. You know, marriage is just the start. It just there's and marriage is so hard. Like people go through. Yeah. Like people like me because I never get married.
Yeah.
I probably still want to get married, but
Yeah.
lots of I heard so many advice from like senior, more elderly people. They're just never get married.
I wouldn't say that, but I don't know. I'd just say be very, very careful.
Yeah, when you marry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Uh-huh.
And look at their parents.
Mm.
So that's a good idea of what they're going to become when they're older.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. How do you know a person? Just like maybe based on their like parents, you can just know.
Well, I think I'm not saying you should judge them on their parents, but I think have a look at their parents,
Yeah.
and that may be how they'll turn out when they get older. I don't
That's
know.
true.
Yeah, for some people, not for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's eluded me the whole thing.
Yeah. So, are you feel like happier after you like being single again? Like more
Definitely.
definitely.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
have been enjoying life so far, and
Oh,
also
yes.
yeah. I'm actually I feel like a lot of people we are. I think the happiest time probably before 20, and after retirement 60 because you are out of all the responsibilities.
I guess so. Yeah.
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 So how about career? Like I feel like you told me you have been working in IT, right?
Yeah.
So like for now I feel like a lot of young people like me, we feel lost because I feel like the job's gonna replaced by AI. A lot of people are out of employment. It's very hard for young people to even get a job.
Mm.
So what do
I
you
don't know what they should do.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the you know, in the next 10 years, you're going to find AI starting to mature,
Yeah.
and you may well find quantum computing becomes a reality for people,
Yeah.
and it's just going to change the world in ways you can scarcely comprehend.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I know what I did.
Yeah.
I was at high school. I did a course in computer studies at high school, which was a bit unusual in those
Yeah.
days. And then I was going to go to university, but I thought I'll have a year's break first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote off to a few companies in the town where I was and said, look, I've completed high school, I've got IT and I really want to get a job as a computer program. And I got a job that way. I just can't believe it. I got so lucky. I got a job. Working for a major brand, I don't know if we should mention brands, but working for a major brand company and got a job there working in IT, so I never bothered going to university. And it never really kind of held me back very much not having university education. I'm not advocating that, but in my particular case it was okay. And yeah, so I started working there as a computer programmer. That was in Hobart in Tasmania, where I grew up. I really didn't like it. I was born in England, and then my parents moved to Australia when I was a kid, and we moved to Hobart, and I really didn't like it.
Why is that?
Okay, so it's pre-internet days, okay, so it's hard for you to comprehend, but the only source of news was the local newspaper, and all that used to do was focus on Hobart and Tasmania, the state. And this is a backwater state, yeah. And I kind of knew there was a big world out there that was wide and exciting, but it wasn't where I was.
Yeah. Right.
And so what I did is I got my 2 years IT experience, just sort of counting down the days before I could leave.
Yeah.
And then I quit my job and moved to Sydney.
Nice.
Finally, I was in the real city,
Yeah.
and it was everything I expected it to be.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So
And-
being English and what? Sorry.
Oh, okay. So sorry. Yeah, and so I pursued my career there. Things went reasonably well.
Yeah.
And then when I was 40, I got offered a job in Penang. I was working for a medical company, and I got offered a German medical company. The regional headquarters was in Penang,
Nice.
and they offered me a job in Penang, which I definitely couldn't say no to. It was a wonderful thing.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah.
How wonderful is that?
Well, I was already on a pretty decent wage, and I more than doubled my salary.
Nice.
So and also I went from Australia to Malaysia, so my costs were a third of what they'd previously been. So it was
Yeah.
just a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, but a little too wonderful because they eventually did an audit of the company and they decided there was way too many expats, and so all the expats got culled. Not all of them, but most. One of which was me.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, and so then I was with my wife at that stage, and we didn't want to go back to Australia, so I got a job in Singapore, and then I lived there for 10 years. And then I got the job distributing software. This is Australian software, and they wanted to sell it around Asia. So I got to be the Asian distributor for that software,
Nice.
and I did that until COVID started.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I made a value decision at the end of COVID. Do you want to go and restart this whole thing? go and do all the hard work and try and get another sales pipeline going. But I kind of figured it was getting a little late in the day, in terms of my life. I wanted to enjoy myself rather than
Yeah.
spend an obscene amount of time working.
Yeah.
And if I had have, I wouldn't have really had much more money than I maybe increased my wealth by 10% or something.
Yeah.
And I just figured it wasn't worth it. And
Mhm.
so I started traveling.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You enjoy that part, traveling, more than work? Is-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you enjoy your career? Because you actually have a very successful career. You've been to a very good place.
Mm.
Do you have any advice for younger self? If you can give advice for your younger self, do you?
Pursuing a career.
Yeah, or just in general?
Okay, I'll give you one piece of advice that's really good. You should take a job for what you can learn, not for what you can earn. Okay,
Mhm.
so if you get two jobs and one of them you're going to learn a hell of a lot, but it doesn't pay as well, or another job where you're not going to learn so much, but it pays a lot of money, take the job where you're going to learn, because that learning will be invaluable.
Mm.
Absolutely invaluable. I've sort of been lucky enough to be in that situation, and some of the things I've learned along the way have really, really helped me. Yeah. So, I mean, as an example, when I was working for the American company in Singapore, my boss was one of the smartest guys I ever met. I was in IT, but he was the regional manager in Southeast Asia.
Mm.
And he used to involve me in a lot of the discussions about the company. I didn't really understand how business worked,
Mhm.
but working with him, and he always had time for me to help me understand. Like why are we taking over this company? Why are they selling off this company? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And he'd always spend time and explain it to me. Now that at the time seemed very interesting, but for me now, I've retired. It's invaluable knowledge, because now I've got some money and I invested in the share market, and I don't just go out and buy something because it's going up. I do a lot of research on the company. Now I'm able to do that now from what I learnt in that last job. So there you go. I learnt some information
Yeah.
that now is like the most valuable information I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about in terms of life? Like, if you can go back to your younger self,
Mm.
do you have any advice, or do you have any regrets? Like, what's your biggest regrets? That's the question.
That's my biggest regret in terms of career,
Just in
or
terms,
just anything.
Yeah, just anything in general in life.
I mean, there's a couple, but they're probably not for public discussion.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, there's a couple of really bad things that happened to me, and I
Yeah.
would just like to push myself aside of that situation
Okay.
before it happened. But they're very specific, and there's no general learnings from that.
Okay.
Yeah. Look,
But if you
I
can
don't
give,
know.
but if you can give your younger self,
Okay. This is what I tell them: stop worrying so much. Yeah.
stop worrying.
Everything's going to work out. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
I don't worry anymore. I don't have any worries. Now you might wonder about that because I'm
Yeah.
getting on in years, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to be around forever.
Right.
And you might think, well, how can you not be worried? You know,
Right.
you're getting later in life. But I literally don't worry. Yeah.
Since when you stop worrying?
Oh, probably about the time I got divorced.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. It just gradually changed.
Very change because like, may I know how old were you when you stopped worrying? Like in your
Yeah,
50s,
that's a good question. I'm not quite
40s?
sure. I think it was just, I mean, how old were you when you grew up? You know, it's like it just changes every day, and then
Yeah.
one day you realise that's the case. You know?
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. I think that's the case thing because I hear people saying that like being older is actually you stop worrying.
Yeah.
You actually have better life than like in our 20s,
I think so.
like
I
people
think so.
always panicking, like
Yeah.
always afraid of this, worry about that.
Yeah, wondering
Yeah.
what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But you see, this is also the thing. You see, you've got like the past, the present, and the future.
Yeah.
So if you spend a lot of time thinking about the future, people who spend a lot of time contemplating the future and worrying about it, they tend to get anxious.
Yeah.
You know? And that's not a good state to be.
Yeah.
The people who spend too much time thinking about the past and maybe gnashing their teeth over that, they generally tend to get depressed. Yeah.
Right.
So, but if you can live in the moment,
Yeah.
then you've got the perfect place. Now that's a very, very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Amazing.
I
agree with that.
I did it. I went to a 10-day silent Buddhist retreat,
Oh yeah.
and then you do actually get into the moment, like,
Yeah.
and it's really quite an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Once you leave, you don't really have that, that very momentary experience. It's very fleeting, because what's now is not now, and is not now. The moment is now, and it's so ephemeral. It comes and evaporates and moves on to the next moment. So maybe I'm rambling a bit, but if you can live in the moment and try not to worry,
Yeah.
that's the best thing. I used to worry a fair bit when I was younger,
Yeah.
and I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
My life's a lot better for it.
Right.
I had a sports watch. And it had a test on it. You could test your stress level, yeah? And you had to hold it down, press the button and hold it down. And I did it, and it measured you on 1 to 100, 0 to 100 in fact. And mine was 0. And I thought, no, I've made a mistake. And so I did it like 3 or 4 times, like adjusting it every time. And every time it was 0, I've got 0 stress.
So during the retreat or after retreat, the 0.
Oh no, this is post-retreat.
Post-retreat.
But I don't mean immediately post. I mean last year I did this.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a good place to be. 0 pressure.
0 stress.
Yeah, 0 stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
And I've got stressful things coming up, so
Yeah.
I'm going to leave Malaysia and move to Chiang Mai. I mean,
Right.
that's not going to be the easiest thing to do.
Right.
But let's not worry about it now, because
Yeah.
it's not now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time, I've always been lucky in my life, and so I know it'll work out okay. It'll fall into place, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
Somehow it'll work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also kind of get this feeling that everything's gonna work out by itself.
For me, it does. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been extraordinarily lucky my entire life. Yeah.
How
I don't
does-
know why.
No,
I
why?
just have. Yeah.
Like what? Why you have like
I won the lottery.
you won a lottery? Right? Wow.
I mean, one of the luckiest ones was when I was 18 and I got that job.
Oh yeah.
As the computer programmer. I mean, that was a strike of luck. I think back about that now, there was nothing. How did you ever manage to pull that one off? Because that's one of the biggest ones I've ever done. There's a bunch of things. There's a bunch of times when things could have gone wrong, but they worked out well.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. It's just extraordinary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you must be lucky.
I am.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice
And if I
life.
go to one of these, function nights and they have a lucky door prize, you better watch out if I'm there. Because I've won far more than my fair share of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, it just does.
Yeah. So, okay. So, like, I think, yeah, you have a very nice life. I mean, very lucky. And now you're at the best age of your life
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. And
That's great.
later this year I'm going with my brother and his wife to Machu Picchu in South America.
Nice.
Catching up with one of my friends in London for a couple of weeks. Go over and see my daughter in Berlin,
Nice.
and then come back, and it's
Yeah.
pretty exciting.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, hearing of this, I just felt very exciting for you. I just
Yeah.
felt, life is amazing. Life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like,
good.
yeah. But while you like still working, do you feel life is also this amazing?
I mean, it's busy, isn't it? It's just so busy, you don't really have time to reflect, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
You know, when I was working, you've always got stuff to do and kids to pick up from school and dinners to cook. And yeah, I mean, remember I was living in Australia and they don't have maids and helpers down there because they're too expensive. So you've got to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
It's just so busy. I mean, it is good. There's really great things
Yeah.
about being a lot younger than I am now.
Yeah.
You know, your body works a lot better.
Yeah.
But it's hard work.
Yes. Now it's more relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I was staying with my daughter a month ago in Melbourne, in Australia, and she's got a 4-year-old son. My goodness, you know, that little kid is just non-stop.
Yeah. Must be
And I
lots
was
of work.
just, well, you know, times have changed. I couldn't do it now.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
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 Okay, so just to, I'm just going to talk about how I got my job in
Penang,
Penang.
yeah.
I was working as IT manager in Sydney, and I got offered a job as a regional manager in Penang. So it was a big step up, and it was the opportunity of a lifetime. And just to step back a little bit, when I became IT manager at this company, I had to do presentations a fair bit, but I was terrible at them. I was absolutely the worst presenter you can possibly imagine.
Why is that?
I used to stress out about it a lot.
Yeah.
You've got to learn certain skills. You don't talk when you're doing a presentation the way you talk if you're one-on-one. You've got to do it differently.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was terrible at it, and the boss said to me, "Listen, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to send you off for a training course." So I went to the Australian Institute of Management. They had a week-long presentation course, how to do presentations. And I did that, and the lights came on, and suddenly I knew how to do presentations.
What's the light?
No, I mean the light came on. It was like the darkened room of how do you present, and then turn the light on and say, "Okay, this is how you do it."
Okay.
And
Then how do you know in a sudden? I thought the light means you got this inspiration.
well, more or less, more or
Yeah.
less, So anyway, I learned how to do presentations, and I got really good at it. And then what happened is they were having the company was having a finance meeting in Singapore, and the boss said to me, "Why don't you come along?" He was the financial controller, and I was, "Oh yeah, okay, what for? It's a finance meeting. I'm not finance." "Yeah, just come along. We'll get you to do a presentation, you know." And I was like, "A presentation on what?" And he said, "Just give him a presentation on whatever, you know, a project that you're working on that you're particularly excited about." And I was okay, I'll do that. And there was board members from Germany there. There was the heads of all the Asian countries there. So it was quite an audience, 50, 60 people, really high power. And I thought about doing this presentation, and I thought about how am I going to do it. I was working on this project, which I was really enjoying, and it was a really great project. And I thought, how am I going to do this presentation? And I thought I'm going to put some humour in it. I'm going to make it informative but funny.
Yeah.
And so I worked on it. I really, really did a lot of work on it and got it down so it was perfect. And then, you know, the days before we were sitting in the room, you know, this big formal room, you know, and I was just sitting there thinking, "Oh God, I'm going to get up there and do this humorous presentation." And the night before I had this really ultra realistic dream that I started doing the presentation. The guy who ran the company stopped me and he said, "Enough of this frivolity, Mr. Woodmansey. Would you just be more serious in this presentation?"
Oh, okay.
And I sort of woke up like in the morning. I was, oh my God, you know, I was so worried. And then I thought, no, maybe I'll just take all the humour out, just deliver it flat. And I thought, no, the hell, I'm not going to. I'll just do it anyway, and let's just see what happens. So I gave this presentation, and I killed it, absolutely killed it. slayed the audience. You know, everybody was just like, wow.
In a funny way or not funny way?
In the funny way. I
Okay.
did the funny way. I thought the hell with it. I'll just do it. And if they
Yeah.
don't like it, I'll just go back to
Okay.
Australia with my tail between my legs. You know? If they don't like it, they don't like it. You know, I'll just bomb in front of everyone. But it worked out really, really, really well. And you know, as I sat back down, the tables were in a big U shape like this. The financial controller from Penang was sitting opposite me. And as I sat back down, he looked over and he's like, "You come and work for me." And I was like, "Yeah." And so that presentation got me my job in Penang.
Oh, nice.
Just that ability to do that presentation got me my job in Penang. So
Yeah.
never, ever, ever underestimate the ability to do a good presentation. Yeah. Yeah. That was a funny thing. I didn't realise it was a job interview, but it was.
Yeah. So you're saying just probably be open, and what's your biggest takeaway from that?
Don't ever underestimate the ability to do public speaking.
Yeah.
That's my, because then you can persuade people. You can learn how to persuade people,
Right.
how to appear really, really good. If you're really good at something, but you can't get in a room of people and tell them about it, nobody will rate you. But if you can get in the room, you are good at something, and you can get in the room and tell people about it, and keep their interest the whole time. Keep it moving. Keep their interest. You'll sit back down and everybody will go, well,
Yeah.
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 That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I also feel like people who are like, it's all about like people's perception. Because
Yes.
I work as a headhunter for so many years. All my clients always chose the one who are so confident, even though they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. You see that. You'll see that your entire life, and that's because reality, as you experience it, we experience subjective reality, not objective reality.
Yeah.
You know, it's objective reality is how it is.
Yeah.
Subjective reality is how we perceive it,
Yeah.
and humans perceive the world subjectively.
Yeah.
And
So I feel this word is just the illusion of yourself. You think it's okay, then it's okay.
yeah. And you see, this is a little bit of a counter to the whole AI thing. This is an extra skill. So my friend, who's the travel vlogger from Poland, he's got these really fantastic skills of talking to a camera.
Yeah.
You're never going to get AI to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
He just walking along, he's just talking into the phone, he's walking, oh, look at this, look at that, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. And you're hanging on every word, you know. Don't quite know how he does it, but he's really, really good at it. And
Yeah.
that's how you you differentiate the normal people from the people who are really good at it. He's really good at it. I'm nowhere near that level, but somehow he stumbled across it. Yeah.
But I also feel like you must have some qualities that are very good, like navigates your smooth career. Because I feel like a lot of people, you say you're lucky, but also
No, it's
I
lucky.
feel, I also feel you probably also have some qualities that other people don't have.
I got some skills. Yeah, I got some
Yeah.
skill set.
Yeah.
But navigating my career, I don't know, I just kind of stumbled along. I didn't have a grand plan. Some people start off and they've got a grand plan. I'm going to do this, I'm going to get there, I'm going to do this, and this to get there. I never had that.
Yeah.
I just sort of,
But-
I was never really that ambitious, you know. I just sort of stumbled along and it kind of worked out. So I said before, I'm lucky.
But do you have ever received any comments from your boss or colleagues? They're saying you are very good at something, that you are like any comments from them? That must be it.
Yeah, I remember my last year I remember the last salary review I did in Australia and talking to my boss, and he's, you know, look, you think differently to most other people. I work in IT, okay, so you're trained to kind of think differently, but he said that. He said you think differently to other people. And then one of the things that shocked me, he said you intrinsically understand the need for management. And I was, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what does that mean?
He said most people don't understand the need for management. management, you know, but why you need it, what it's supposed to do, where its limits should be. That's what he said to me. You kind of intrinsically understand that. And I was, wow, I didn't think that was the thing. But
how did you understand the management?
I knew some good people and just kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
I mean, my brain just goes running off thinking at night, you know, during the day, you know, contemplating situations and analysing them and what was really happening there. You know, I'm not saying I always get it right, but I'm fairly analytical.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I've sort of worked my way through that. But the best one was my boss in Singapore, I mentioned before. He used to take time to explain everything to me.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, we got along really well. A lot of people found him really scary, but I never did. I didn't worry about it, you know, I just called things straight to him. And he knew I was a straight talker and he really appreciated that, you know.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the amount of knowledge I gleaned from that guy was just incredible, yeah. And as I said before, now it carries over to now. Now I invest in the share market, but what I learned there allows me to do this. I can be analytical and figure things out that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also why you give this advice is pick the job you always learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, learn.
So is that always your choice? You always pick the job, you always learn something?
It probably was, yeah. I mean, again, I never had a big plan. I just fell into things as I went, and I got lucky because I'm a lucky person. But that my advice to anyone would be that take the job where you can learn.
Yeah, that's right. But I feel the job market right now, the employee always pick the people who already master in that job, rather than pick someone who is gonna take some learning curve to do that job.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But those people who are already mastered it, don't they want to move on to something else? Move up and as they move up the ladder, then that opens spaces below.
Yeah.
We used to, when I was working for the American company, we used to spend an enormous amount of time on that. You know, we'd have these HR meetings and it was career planning for everyone. Nobody stays in the same job for longer than 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
People
you've got to
get
move
bored.
on. Otherwise, you might as well leave the company.
Yeah, exactly. People
Yeah.
get bored. We need to learn something new.
Everybody needs to keep growing.
Yes.
Yeah. And
That's my favorite.
yeah, one of the people I remember, I think she was in the Philippines, and they wanted to offer her a job working in Indonesia, you know, for the extra experience, and it would have been wonderful for her because then she would have ended up in head office, you know, a couple of years after that.
Yeah.
She said, "No, I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting in the meeting, you know, and my boss was like, "Well, we've got to get somebody else. I want ambitious people in the company." I don't know that they actually sacked her, but she was immediately sidelined. That was it. Forget about it. You'll stay doing your job you're doing now forever. You know?
Yeah.
It's fairly career limiting, you know,
Yeah.
being offered an opportunity and declining it.
Yeah, exactly. That's my feeling. So I've been doing the same thing for 10 years, and I want something new right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to see the career path. With HR, I don't know where it goes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know all these other jobs, you know.
Yeah. People. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're an accountant, you become financial controller, and then become, you know,
CFO,
that sort of thing. Yeah,
That's the
CFO.
path.
But and then even the GM, you know, that seems
Oh yeah.
seems to be the career path.
Yeah. CFO and CEO. Yeah.
Yeah.
GM. Yes.
Yeah. And usually the finance guy is more powerful than the GM. That's
Yeah.
what I've found.
Yeah.
So if you want to run companies, get into finance.
Yeah, but I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either.
Yeah.
I'm not good with numbers.
Yeah, I'm not good with numbers.
Mm.
But you can do, I mean, you must be good at numbers right now because you have so many investment. You should look at the finance of the...
I knew you were going to say that. I guess to a degree, yeah. But if you're going to try and make a living out of investing, you've got to be the right sort of person. It's not for everybody. Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody. Most people shouldn't try because, you know, investing in the stock market, they'll lose money.
Yeah, lots of people do.
Most people lose money. Yeah. If you're a day trader, you know, you'll lose money. You've got to be, and most people lose money anyway, you know.
It's true.
If you buy a company and the share price goes down, most people's idea is to sell it. I don't know, it might be the right decision, but it might be the most disastrous decision you can possibly imagine as well. If you see a share going up, a lot of people think, oh, maybe I should buy it.
Yeah.
But it might be the right thing, but it probably isn't. You know, you've got to step back a bit and do more homework. You know.
Yeah.
This is what happened to me. You see, I was in Penang, and this is how I got into investing in the share market. One of my friends told me, listen, I got this tip from this guy about this gold mine, startup gold mine in Australia, and you should buy these shares. And so I did. I went out and bought some shares, just on his advice, nothing else. And then I kind of lost contact with him. But the shares are at $2 a share. And after I bought them, they went down to $1.40. And I was like, what do I do now? You know? And because it may be a buying opportunity, it may be you should get out of the thing, and it maybe you should just sit tight. But I didn't know how to do that. And so then I thought, I've got to figure out what the shares are worth. And I didn't know how to do that. But I remember my daughter told me, my daughter had a boyfriend who was working at like McKinsey, one of the top management consulting companies. And I said to him, how do you value companies? And he said, you compare it to another company that's similar. And that's how you value companies. And that's the only thing I remembered, and I thought, okay, I'm going to figure out how to work out how much these shares are worth. And so I stopped the fridge up, locked the front door, spent a week in the apartment just staring at the computer, trying to figure this out. I worked out 2 ways to evaluate how much these shares should be worth. Now they're on $1.45, and I came up with a number of $3.20. And the other method I used, I came up with $3.30. And then, okay, so I reckon this is what they're worth. And so then, what am I missing here? What haven't I considered? What don't I know? Where am I going to get trapped on this one, you know? And I spent so much time running around and round and round on that, you know? And in the end, I convinced myself that I was right. And so the shares sitting at $1.45, what do I do? So I bought some more. And then a couple of weeks passed, still $1.45, so I bought some more, and I bought some more, and some more, and some more, and some more, and some more. And in the end, I had quite a large holding of it, keeping my fingers crossed. And it stayed there for ages, you know, it didn't move. And then one day it started to go, and it went up to the $3.20. And then it kept on going, it went up to like $5. I underestimated it.
Yeah.
And I've still got them now, and they're worth $10.
Oh.
For $1.45.
Yeah. Nice.
Because I'd done my homework, you see.
Yeah.
But in that time, I had this other one that was like, it was like 80 cents, and it dropped down to 30 overnight. One morning I got up, and then it dropped to 30 cents from 80 down to 30, just like that.
Yeah.
And one of my friends in Sydney, I said, you've got to get this share, you know. And
It's time to buy.
but before then, and he rang me up. He said, hey, have you seen what's happened to the shares overnight? And I was like, so what are we going to do? They've halved in value. And I was okay, give me some time. So I went on see if there's any corporate announcements, see if they had a gold mine as well in Africa. Has there been a communist revolution in that country? Is anything happened? And then nothing had happened. And so I thought, no, it's good, just hold it. And so I just held it for 2 months, and then one day, it came straight back up again, but went higher than it had been when it started. Now, if I panicked and thought maybe I should sell, I would have done very badly.
Yeah.
But sitting still and waiting, so you've got to have ice in your veins, you know, and you've got to think before you do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to think really, really carefully.
True.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
And if anyone's listening to this, avoid crypto because it will crash one day.
Really? You think so?
100% certain.
But like Bitcoin is so expensive right now.
It's going to stay.
Yeah, but
I don't know when it's going to collapse, but it will collapse.
Yeah, like I think Warren Buffett said the same.
He said that, yeah.
Yeah.
And his partner, what was his name? His partner.
Munger, Charlie.
Yeah,
Munger.
Charlie Munger. He was like the things he used to say about
Yeah,
it.
he used
you'd
to
be
say
like,
that.
wow, listen to
Yeah.
this. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, look, you might make a lot of money. I've been wrong every day of my life about crypto, and I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be right in the end. I'm 100% certain.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're going to go to the share market, spend time. Learn how business works. Spend time,
Mm.
and be careful.
Yeah. Right.
And don't trade.
Yeah. Yeah. For me as well, I would rather to buy something I think is more real.
Mm.
Like crypto is something I don't know how exactly it works. Like
Where's the intrinsic value in it?
Right. Exactly.
Where's the intrinsic value? If I owe you $100 and I decide I'm going to pay you with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and I send you $100 worth of Bitcoin, there's one thing you can be certain of: you won't get that $100. You might get 110, or you might get 100, or you might get 95, but you won't get the 100. But what's the point? What's the point of it? Because I can get a Wise card, and I can just transfer money into anywhere in the world in any currency I want,
Yeah.
with no exchange rate
Right,
fees.
yeah.
So where's its value? I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't understand
Yeah.
as well. But it's so expensive right now, Bitcoin.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's going to annoy a lot of people, but I think it is. Yeah, I wouldn't put my money. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put any money in.
It's true. Lots of
Yeah.
scams in crypto world.
I think it's scams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of it is.
Yeah. But a lot of people, I think they're free from crypto money. I think they get away, like before it crashes. They're
Yeah.
already, yeah. That's also good.
Yeah, I mean, and compare that to I've got a couple of gold mines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're producing gold, and gold's gone through the roof in the last 12
Oh
months.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got an intrinsic value. You know, it's digging this stuff out of the ground for $1,400 an ounce, and then selling it for $3,400. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
How can you do better than that? You know? Yeah, it's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying only gold mines, I've got other things as well, but I mean, there's an example. Trust that with Bitcoin, it has no intrinsic value.
Yeah.
If it evaporated overnight,
Right.
nobody can miss it.
Right. I think gold is definitely a good asset to hold.
Yeah, yeah,
Lots of people tell me that as well.
yeah.
Yeah. Need to make some money first.
Got to make some money. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah, I think I really appreciate the conversation today.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.